Do you want to know who will soon take their rightful place on the Iron Throne? Then you better pay attention as I break down the most important prophecy in a Game of Thrones. Welcome to Discomplicated, where we take super complex topics in fandom and make them easier to comprehend, guaranteed for your money back. And remember, you are watching this for free. Today's topic, the prophecy of the prince that was promised in a Game of Thrones. I have constructed this elaborate and also ruleless board game as a tool to help explain the prophecy. It made sense at the time, and now that I look around, I'm thinking, this is a lot. I don't think these eggs serve a purpose. They're just here. Each of these pieces is a character who could potentially fulfill the prophecy. So the closer you get to the Iron Throne, the more likely you are. Pretty simple. You're gonna wanna stick around because at the end of the video, I'm going to reveal my definitely, certainly, maybe correct prediction for whomst will fulfill said prophecy. Obligatory spoiler warning, because yes, there are spoilers, and onward. The prophecy of the prince that was promised has loomed large over all of Westeros, both in George R.R. Martin's books and in HBO's adaptations. He or she, this prince or princess, is the person that will defeat the Long Night. So what exactly does the prophecy say? Hold on. Scroll. So, when the red star bleeds and the darkness gathers, Azor Shai shall be born again amidst smoke and salt to wake dragons out of stone. And then there's more. In this dread hour, a warrior shall draw from the fire a burning sword, and that sword shall be Lightbringer, the red sword of heroes. And he who clasps it shall be Azor Shai, come again, and the darkness shall flee before him. Azor Shai is a legendary hero who beat back the world's darkness like thousands of years ago. So the last and the least often repeated part of the prophecy is heard from Sir Barristan Selmy in A Dance with Dragons, which is a book which I have read. Commenters. According to Sir Barristan, a wood witch once told Dany's grandfather, Jaehaerys II, that the prince that was promised would descend from his line. To recap, there are 5-ish qualifications to being the prince that was promised. You gotta be born near salt and smoke. You gotta have a red star associated with you. I feel like I'm waxing someone. You woke up some dragons. You have to have done that. You have hot blood, Targaryen blood, and I hit the boom. I got too excited. And you have to have a hot sword. All of these people are in the running. Each piece is a character who even a tiny bit fits that complicated description. So I'm gonna start going through each one and moving them toward the throne. But first, we can throw out Rhaegar, because he's dead. So he goes into the trash can of death. Ooh. Okay. Next, we will toss Stannis as well. If you remember, Stannis was who Melisandre supported as the prince that was promised until he died. Brienne chopped his head off, and then Melisandre was like, I shouldn't have lit that kid on fire.
Terrible mistakes.
It was kind of a mess, but into the can of death he goes. Okay. Let's start with the living candidates. We'll go with the darkest horse of all, Sandor Clegane, aka the Hound. Born amidst salt and smoke. Fans cite Sandor's burning at the hands of his brother, the Mountain. You know, the smoke from the fire, the salt from his tears, kind of a rebirth as the Hound.
My brother gave me this. The pain was bad. The smell was worse.
So I'm gonna move him onto the salt and smoke space. Born under a red star, we don't really know, but that could be a reference to Septon Ray, who nurses him back to health after Brienne almost kills him. He's maybe reborn because of a follower of the Seven, which is represented by a red star.
Now, I reckon you die a dozen more times over the next few days, but you didn't.
It's very tenuous, but we'll move him to the red star space. Waking dragons from stone, not so much. He's not a Targaryen, and he's really afraid of fire, so no flaming sword. He's gonna stay right there, not advancing, not very likely to be the prince that was promised. On to a perennial fan favorite, the Imp of Casterly Rock, Tyrion Lannister. Tyrion was reborn amidst salty water and wildfire smoke at the Battle of Blackwater Bay. So we'll move him to the salt and smoke space. He's around when there's the red comet in the sky from seasons 2 and 3, so sure, we'll give him the red star space. Now, he's the one to bring Dany to Westeros, which is kind of like waking a dragon from stone, so we'll give him the dragons from stone space. And there's a really popular fan theory that Tyrion is actually the product of some prima nocta freakiness between Joanna Lannister and Aerys II. Way more evidence for this in the books. Just don't have time to go into it here. So we're gonna move him half a space because it's a good theory. And maybe he'll get a burning sword. I don't know. That's where he's gonna land though. Tyrion, more likely than Sandor, less likely than some people. Next, we have Victorian Greyjoy. There are fan theories that he's the prince that was promised. They're very fun and they're worth a read if you're ever on the internet. But he's not in the show, which is kind of problematic. Doesn't bode super well for him playing a major role in the endgame. So according to the rules of this game, which don't exist, characters who are not present in the show but are present in the books go here. I'm gonna put him like a bookmark and smash him like a bug. All right, next, a personal favorite, love him, the Onion Knight himself, Sir Davos Seaworth. Everyone thinks he's dead after the where the is he? Here he is. Everyone thinks he's dead after the Battle of Blackwater Bay, which involved salt from the water and smoke from the wildfire, but he wasn't reborn amidst salt and smoke, so he gets that space. Nothing really in the way of a red star for Davos. He's alive for the comet. It's pretty cheap though. We'll give it to him anyway. He helps convince Dany to let Jon mine the dragon glass and fight the White Walkers.
If we don't put aside our enmities and band together, we will die. And then it doesn't matter whose skeleton sits on the Iron Throne.
So he wakes a dragon in a way that involves stone? We'll go to the judges on this one. They're not here, I'm alone. I turned on all the cameras myself. We'll move him to the dragon stone space. So the red sword. Okay, fans have pointed out that in season 2, episode 1, it's actually Davos who leaves the beach with the staged flaming sword that Stannis pulls from the fire. So we'll move him one space. We'll move him to the sword space. This is where things start to get messy because we skipped the Targaryen space. I love Sir Davos. Something tells me he could be the prince that was promised, but this doesn't make any sense that he's further than Tyrion, so I'm bumping him back a couple spaces because I am the god of this game. But it's time to stop around. We have to get to some real heavyweights here. So let's move on to Jaime Kingslayer, if you're a nasty Lannister. In terms of the prophecy, Jaime has almost nothing going for him. There's no red star, he's not a Targaryen. He was born in Casterly Rock, which is sure near the sea. I don't know, there's not a lot here. He does have that kind of classic redemption arc. It feels very heroic. Otherwise, not much to fulfill the prophecies. So I'm just gonna put Jaime like there. That feels right. Up next, a very heavy hitter, Jon Snow, Targaryen, Stark, Ahai. We don't know his last name really. So Jon was born in the middle of a war, smoke, and his mother's death, salt, tears. And there's all this stuff in the book about how when he's assassinated, his wounds, smoke, and the salty tears from one of his Night's Watch brothers fall on him. So he's got the salt and smoke down. We'll give him that square. He's also literally born under a red star, which is the decorative hilt on the slain Sir Arthur Dayne's sword that Uncle Ned lays at the foot of Lyanna's birthing / deathbed. That's sad. I mean, look at that shot. It's very deliberate. So he definitely gets the red star. Waking dragons from stone. This could refer to him mining the dragon glass. It could just be him waking Rhaegar, a Targaryen, therefore a dragon from the Stone of Death. Also, he's a Targaryen. He's definitely getting that dragons from stone circle. We know for sure that he's from Jaehaerys II's line, so he gets that Targaryen blood space. And he's got plenty of time to light Longclaw on fire, or maybe he rides a dragon. So all the spaces to Jon Snow. A very likely prince that was promised. Not quite on the throne though, you'll notice. He's actually touching. Is that good for audio? So last we have the strongest contender, in my opinion, Daenerys Stormborn of the House Targaryen, first of her name, the Unburnt, Queen of the Andals and the First Men, Khaleesi of the Great Grass Sea, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, also Jon Snow's aunt and sexual partner. They boned. So, Daenerys was born on Dragonstone during an actual storm, that's why Stormborn is in her name, and a war, so that's clearly salt and smoke. She gets that circle. She was also reborn under a red star, the comet that was shooting through the sky when she was reborn as the Mother of Dragons. Speaking of dragons, she very literally woke 3 dragons from stone, so she gets that circle. This is a swift advance. She's definitely a Targaryen, so she gets the Targaryen blood circle. And I don't know, her dragons could be a flaming sword, so she's really close. She's actually closer than Jon. There. Now you may have noticed that we've still got a few pieces back here. We've got Theon, Jorah, and Brienne. There's really good fan theories on all of them, but it's not gonna be them. I just don't think. So I'll give them each a space, but that's it. And now you understand the prophecy of the prince that was promised. The board, you could say, is set for season 8. The question is, are you ready to hear my prediction for who will be the prince that was promised? It's Dany, right? Because she checks the most boxes, and I put her the closest to the throne. Wrong. It's nobody. It's nobody is the prince that was. All right, I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. Okay, you know what? I'll pick him up. I'm sorry. Okay, I am sorry. I am sorry about that. All right, okay, back on track. What do I mean when I say nobody? Do I mean Arya Stark, nobody, like it's a faceless man? No, I mean that all prophecies in Game of Thrones are kind of bullshit. George R.R. Martin, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, said in an interview with EW, prophecy is a staple element in fantasy. It's tricky. You want to play with the notion of prophecies coming true, but in an unexpected way. You have to look at prophecies carefully and look at the weasel wording. Maggie the Frog tells Cersei a prophecy, but could Cersei make it happen through her efforts to avoid it?
Will the king and I have children?
No. The king will have 20 children. And you will have 3.
That doesn't make sense.
Gold will be their crowns. Gold. Their shrouds.
If you remember, he is referencing season 5, episode 1, when Cersei is told, among a bunch of other things, that all 3 of her kids will die. Throughout the show, Cersei does everything she can to stop this, but her actions are the very thing that bring about their deaths. The only thing that fulfilled the prophecy is her belief in it.
You couldn't have stopped it. It's prophecy, it's fate.
You don't believe that?
Of course I do.
So now think about the prince that was promised. Melisandre supported Stannis as Azor Shai, then he died. Now she seems to believe that Jon Snow is the prince that was promised.
The Lord let you come back for a reason. Stannis was not the prince who was promised, but someone has to be.
And meanwhile, you got Kinvara, who's also a priestess of Ashai, making a fairly passionless deal to support Dany in the streets as the princess who was promised.
Daenerys Stormborn is the one who was promised. From the fire, she was reborn to remake the world.
So, do either of these religious women believe that Jon or Dany is the prince or princess that was promised, or do they just believe, like Melisandre says, someone has to be? I think that's the world Martin is crafting. Not one where prophecies come true, but one where they're tools. They're a different kind of weapon for a different kind of warrior.
My time whispering in the ears of kings has come to an end.
This has been Discomplicated, and I really hope that we've brought you understanding and enlightenment and an appreciation for the fact that we don't use scrolls anymore. For more Game of Thrones theories, explanations, and coverage, but with way fewer props, be sure to subscribe to SYFY WIRE's YouTube channel by clicking the eggs. That's what the eggs are for. I thought it was just a prop. You can click it to get more videos. You really can. Technology's crazy. Imagine we were using scrolls not that long ago. What a piece of garbage technology, scrolls. So useless. Click an egg.